What's up, everybody? So I apologize for the dour nature of my last video. I am just, really someone who wants to see us actually, start making some leaps and bounds when it comes to innovating the use of psychedelics, decriminalizing them, destigmatizing them, just treating them with respect. I got kind of passionate because I haven't been taking macrodoses for the last, few months. I've taken them, twice. Just because my system has been so all over the place from the benzo taper, and I don't want to, have an unpredictable result, as my metabolism is just so strange that, it can go in so many different directions. What would ordinarily be an average dose, if my central nervous system is down, my immune system is consequentially down as well. But in any case, I was really missing that antidepressant effect. And so, in addition to wanting to preserve my neurological health, because benzo withdrawal is very destructive to your brain, and as many of you probably know, unless neurogenesis is truly a thing that psychedelics cause, and we can only speculate until human trials are carried out, which is again why I please use these things in a way that will buy us some credibility so we can carry out these human trials and know for sure. I decided to in addition to taking other supplements as well, because it is said that benzo withdrawal will cause your neurons to just essentially just self-terminate, just off themselves. Not good. In addition to various supplements, I tried Stamet Stack, and this is my first day trying it. So, essentially, what I did was I ground up a point, so 1/10 of a gram of penis envy mushrooms, which are a very potent strain of cubensis. And because the only other mushrooms I have right now are in chocolate, so I have no idea how much I would be doing if I was to just break off a piece. And I like having just a chocolate bar, so I can just eat a whole one if I really want a macrodose. But so 0.1 of that, which is it's not very much, but just a microdose. It's not supposed to be a ton. I remember the first time I microdosed, I did a gram, thinking that was a microdose. I had a good time, but it definitely wasn't a microdose. By the way, this is my last Dunhill, and I'm sharing this beauty with you. Oh, I'm gonna miss these fucking things. So delicious. So delicious. But, so what I did, ground up, pointed that, put it in the capsule. I got some supplements. One is called Shroom Boom. It's got lion's mane in it. I think it said 500-600 milligrams lion's mane per capsule, which is what Stamet would recommend you take. And it also has cordyceps in it. So that, I find, has kind of combated the lethargy I've experienced in the past from microdosing psilocybin just on its own. Because I found it did kind of make me a little sedated. And I haven't stopped my dextrin entirely. I've just kind of lowered the dose a little bit, because that was also, I think, conducive to my past sort of feeling of sedation when taking, I think it was 0.15, which wasn't very much. It wasn't enough to trip by far. It was definitely a microdose, but still, I was really the energy output left a lot to be desired. But the cordyceps, I think, just speculating here, I think are combating that a bit. And then I've also taken the niacin as well. Now, my intention with the niacin was to take 200 milligrams about 10 minutes after, but I had capped up the mushrooms, and then I had the other cap, the shroom boom stuff, and I weighed out the niacin into a parachute, and I wrapped them all in the same piece of toilet paper. Noticed that the mushroom cap had burst open inside the paper, so it's just like, damn it. I don't want to, make a mess, don't want to waste this, just threw it all back. I actually didn't really, I thought, especially because my system's more sensitive than most, I thought I was going to get the niacin flush, like fucking crazy. And for those of you who don't know, niacin is like, I believe it's like vitamin B6 or something. If I'm wrong about that, please, I apologize, I'm not an expert on supplements, by any stretch. I didn't get the flush. I had a little bit of redness. I felt that sensation of my veins opening up and blood pumping through me. It wasn't at all uncomfortable. In fact, I actually kind of enjoyed the feeling. I still sort of feel it a bit because I took it maybe like an hour ago. And the idea of the niacin is that it's supposed to, again, I'm not an expert. This is just from the research I've come across, what I've gleaned. Niacin seems to help with neurotransmission, and particularly with GABA. And one big issue with benzo withdrawal is not that you have a GABA deficit. You actually have too much GABA in your brain, but your GABA receptors are not properly processing it. And so niacin is supposed to help your GABA receptors essentially process, transmit these chemicals more effectively, and thus increase some activity in the brain and make, a small dose like 0.1 of mushrooms just more effectively processed in the brain. And how I would describe it so far is very pleased. It's certainly a completely different thing from macrodosing. I would compare it to the afterglow I get after I do a macrodose. I think the cordyceps definitely have helped with the energy aspect of things, and then not stopping the dex entirely, even though I take a couple days off a week usually with Dexedrine, because Dexedrine, it's a pretty hardcore amphetamine. It's very, very close to methamphetamine. In fact, in some people it is actually converted into methamphetamine by their livers. So if you take it every single day, and doctors don't tell you this, because they just want you to keep taking more, and Adderall scripts are, at least where I live, for people who aren't addicts, they're the easiest fucking thing to get prescribed. You just literally walk into a doctor's office. I can't focus, so fucking give you some Vyvanse or whatever. They give me instant release Dexedrine, so the most abusable form, and I don't abuse it. Sometimes I'll take 5 milligrams more than I'm supposed to if I've got a really heavy day, but that doesn't really affect me all that much. But yeah, without taking tolerance breaks, it's just going to stop having any desired effect. And you'll just kind of feel the same you did before you were taking it. And plus, as I said, it's a strong amphetamine. I don't want to be on it for the rest of my fucking life. So I plan to try to slowly reduce that, and then maybe slowly up the microdose, and follow the Stamet protocol: 5 days on, 2 days off. But so far I'm feeling this isn't identical to when I first microdosed, and I started with a little burst, and this isn't counting the time I took a gram. The first time I really microdosed where it was like 0.15. Like, I noticed that my senses are more synchronized, and it's kind of hard to explain. People use the term flow state, but I don't think that's quite accurate. I feel like there's a fluidity to my senses that otherwise would not be present. Like, otherwise my senses would be like much more separate, and it would be much more of a challenge to get them to work together. I feel like I could get lost in the flow state, because the whole notion of that is that you get into something and you just lose yourself in it, and you're creating with barely having to think about it. I feel like I am now more primed to get into something like that, which very rarely happens for me. And it's also worth noting that I haven't taken any ketamine for like a week now. And so that's also made a huge difference for me, particularly for my pain. Like, my pain is not much worse, but it is like noticeably a little worse, but not that bad. I mean, I've been using a lot of CBD pot products, stuff like that. So I'm still managing to suppress the pain a little bit, but I can tell why this stuff is said by the FDA to be so much more effective than SSRIs in terms of an antidepressant. I never got a desirable effect out of SSRIs because I was too busy fucking seizing all the time. It's kind of hard to be like, oh, I feel a little happier when you're having just 24/7 seizures. Or, well, in and out of them, like 24 hours a day. There goes my last Dunhill. That's like, I've never been a smoker who can buy, like, the same fucking brand 2 times in a row. But these fucking things were so good, down to the last smoke. I enjoyed it, every puff, and it just got better and better and better towards the end. Not advocating smoking, just saying. That those were very, very nice, and it just shows how shitty our cigarettes are in comparison. Anyways, yeah, I notice a sense of being uplifted, a sense of cohesion, and just, going from one task to the next. My focus feels like not only does it feel like it's more contained, but it feels this is, I'll have to expound on this a bit more, but effortless. Because for someone like me who has very bad ADD, it is a fucking challenge to stay focused on something, or to switch focus from one thing to the next. And leave behind what I was doing before, and, fully immerse myself in what I'm doing at the moment. And see, I'm not, except for just articulating that to you, these are things I'm not considering at all until I stop for a second. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I'm not feeling like I'm just really switching gears in a abrupt, jarring fashion, focus from this to that to that to that. And I just have a feeling of contentment, being at ease that I wouldn't have otherwise. I look forward to continuing this, and I think potentially upping the niacin a bit. I think I'll also maybe up the amount of mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, by 0.01 each day. I've got a 4-point scale, so and you need a 4-point scale if you're gonna take stuff like 2CB or DMT or whatever. If you want, you want to be responsible and know what you're doing, the amount you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend it. I can tell that like just my neurochemistry, my neurological function seems to be a lot. It feels a lot more sound. It feels a lot more. This may just sound kind of maudlin, silly, but harmonious. Like I can feel that my brain is functioning and that it is stimulating neurons and neurotransmission is happening, synapses are firing, and in a way that doesn't feel completely askew and like with benzo withdrawal, it's like you can feel your brain fizzling away and you can feel your neurons dying. Like it feels just detrimental, which it is. That's not just suggestion. I wasn't I really didn't research much into it until I started feeling these things myself, and then heard other people say, oh well, this is what's happening to your neurons because of the benzo withdrawal and what have you. The only times I've microdosed really a couple of times in my life. As I said, the first time I did what was said to be 1,000 milligrams of psilocybin in a gummy. The psilocybin, I think, was actually 4-ACO DMT because it was very different than mushrooms, and I also know someone who, before this place got shut down, took like a tiny bite of one of these mushroom gummy bars and was tripping so hard, like breaking through, he had to go to the fucking hospital. And when I did it, I had nothing like that. Like, it was snowing and I had mild visuals, and I just felt like I just wanted to meditate. It wasn't a bad time, but it wasn't a microdose, it was a macrodose, the beginning of the macrodose anyways. After that, as I said, I tried like 1.15 just on its own. I got that same sort of feeling of my senses sort of more organically working together. But as I said, I just was like, I felt drained. I felt sapped of energy. And then I was like, well, LSD is dopaminergic. Dopaminergic. Works on dopamine as well as serotonin. I mean, serotonin and dopamine do work together. But LSD, in comparison to mushrooms, mushrooms typically just works on serotonin, 5-HTP receptors. I found when I did LSD microdoses, well, for one, it took some trial and error to get the dose right because I was just using tabs that were at least 200 milligrams, that'd be a lot, micrograms. I probably ended up taking about 40-50 by accident. The first maybe 2 times, so I actually did trip a little bit, especially smoking weed. Nothing crazy, but it had the energy that I felt the psilocybin was lacking. So I was like, oh well, I mean, I tend to just with my frenetic train of thought, I tend to gravitate more towards LSD than mushrooms for macrodoses, because I just feel they're more compatible with the speed in which I think. So them being dopaminergic makes sense. But I eventually got it down to where I was taking like a sliver of a tab, like I would assume maybe like 20-25 micrograms, and yeah, I found that beneficial. It was different than psilocybin. I mean, sort of similar uplifting effects, a little, but with a little more energy behind them, a little more oomph. But with LSD, for one, you know, your chances of getting stuff like HPPD, which is a very real thing. You know, I have a little bit of HPPD, and that's, you know, essentially when you are not tripping, you're still you feel like you're tripping a little bit, or at least you sort of, you know, you'll see sort of like patterns and outlines. I think that it's also exacerbated by my central nervous system condition, because yeah, central nervous system, the brain, the gut, and the immune system, they all work together. Actually, this is what I did my psychology paper on. I think I'll do a video where I talk about, or I can just read you my paper, because I think, you know, there's some very important points for people who are dealing with stress and stress-related illnesses, you know, chronic pain, stuff like that, all affected by stress. And yeah, I mean, with the microdose now, I feel like it's just like I realize stress is a thing, and stress is a thing that can happen, but like with the state that I'm in, I feel like it's like, I don't have time to stress about this or that. So yeah, big plus there, because you know, I have to fucking break it down for people that, like, especially for the way my brain works. This is the process. Stress comes in, turns into anxiety immediately. That anxiety spreads through my body and becomes nerve pain. Like that, and that, you know, gradually, the more stress that's piled on, the more my immune system starts to suffer as a result. And, you know, I'm more prone to getting sick and stuff like that. But additionally, supplement-wise, what I'm taking right now is to combat the, you know, brain damage I would otherwise be receiving from, you know, benzo withdrawal, which, you know, is going to be going on for a long time. This taper, unfortunately, because you just can't stop. It'll kill you. You'll have a seizure and fucking die, or at least get some very severe brain damage. Don't need any more brain damage. Thank you very much. You know, but otherwise, I take like, and I'm not recommending other people do this, because it's very divisive. I mean, I've had people tell me it's just the pharmaceutical industry being like, don't take more vitamin C and vitamin D than it says on the bottle because it's bad for your liver or whatever. Well, you know what? I've been taking large amounts of vitamin C for a while now, on the instruction of a guy who I was going to do ibogaine with way back, but because he ended up having like he was training an apprentice or something in South America for 6 months, you know, we fell out of touch, unfortunately. But he was like, yeah, there's large amounts of vitamin C with sodium, I believe acetate it was. I never got around to getting that. And at the time I was on Suboxone. He was like, this will help your receptors absorb more of the Suboxone, and you can. He's like, I had a patient who took more vitamin C, the sodium acetate got down to a quarter of the Suboxone she was taking in a month, just on that. He was just giving me free advice, which was very, very kind of him. He was a cool guy. I genuinely enjoyed talking to him. He overcame his alcoholism with guided LSD trips, and he actually went to a university that specializes in sort of psychedelic studies, and yeah, I hope that I can get in touch with them again. I hope he can set up shop. Like, you know, we had done a plan to, like, you know, because he has a very interesting way of like starting people on like a microdose of ibogaine and then slowly moving up. And then he also offered 5-MeO DMT, and same thing, starting with low dose and then moving up as you get more acclimatized to it. I was planning on doing both under his supervision, but again, fell apart, unfortunately. But no, he encouraged me to take more vitamin C. And then so I've been told you can take a shitload of vitamin D. I don't want to fucking put too much strain on my system, so I just take 2 tablets of vitamin D3. I take a zinc tablet, has vitamin B12 in it as well. Or not tablets, capsule. Anyways, I take PEA occasionally, as it's supposed to help with occasional discomfort. It's hard to tell if it really does or not. I take quite a bit of CBD, also THC and Phoenix tears at night to knock me the fuck out so I can have some sliver of hope that I'm actually going to sleep. Mind you, Phoenix tears they're very strong extract, so you get very, very stoned off them. They're not the fucking strongest pot extract ever that you could come across. It's not full spectrum THC isolate or whatever, but it's having tried a lot of edibles made with just pure THC isolate, it's much smoother. The CBD, I think, rounds off the edginess of an edible. Getting into supplements, because I'm going off track here, but magnesium glycinate I take before bed. Sometimes I'll take GABA. I take melatonin. Usually what I do is I spread the Phoenix tears on the melatonin. I take NAC in high doses, 3 capsules. It says take 1 on the bottle, but I was told, that like with vitamin C, stuff like that, you can take a lot more and actually get effect out of it, as opposed to, like the basically nothing dose that it advises you take on the bottle. NAC is supposed to support your respiratory system, and as someone who is potentially immunocompromised, still haven't got a definitive answer from a doctor on that. Definitely weaker than my parents, who are senior citizens. So that says something about my immune system. But in any case, it's a means of supporting my immune system, and I just started L-theanine as well, which a lot of people who are going through benzo tapers swear by, and I've only tried it at night for bed. Apparently you can try it during the day. I haven't yet. I just got it last night with the other supplements, but I'm also looking for more stuff to take as well, because I just think, I've sustained so much brain damage, whether it be at my own hand from taking hard drugs for so many years, but more so, I think, as a result of being used as a fucking guinea pig as a teenager, and them forcing antipsychotics and antidepressants on me, which had just horrible side effects that showed I didn't need them, but they were like, oh, well, you're just not taking enough. Take twice as much Haldol, to the point where I'm like shaking, my eyes are twitching, I know those things, along with methadone, Suboxone, constant in and out of withdrawal those things caused, as well as, scripted benzodiazepines I abused on my own accord, because I used to take very, very high doses of them. I'm talking like 20 fucking 2 milligram clozapams at once. These things, I think, really fucked up my brain, when my brain was in a very formative state. So I'm trying to restore the damage that my brain to a state where it should be if I had lived a healthy life. Over the last 15 years, I mean, my life's been fairly healthy over the last year. Now I do 2 hours of exercise a day. I do yoga. I do, I sing, play guitar. Try to write, try to not just fiction, but essays and making videos, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I still don't have a job or anything, but I go to school, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do with my life in terms of career. The shitty thing about being someone who is reliant on disability checks is you can only make $800 a month before anything else you make is taken out of your check. So this is why I say it's like the government wants to de-incentivize you from actually pursuing a life that is independent of them. So they want to keep you on this fixed income, which is, at the best of times, barely enough to survive on. So most people just spend it on drugs. I'm not going to say I am not one of those people, because I usually do, but I don't spend it on fentanyl and shit like a lot of these people do. And, think about that. That's taxpayer dollars going to pay for people's fentanyl. Not a great thing, but, the issue for me is, I have had so many fucking jobs that, lasted like 5 days, and then I had to quit because, just like my nerve pain, my responses to stress would be so all over the place that I wouldn't be sleeping, and that I would be fucking starting to space out when I was working, and just like feeling like I wasn't able to be an asset, and I didn't want to hold a position that someone else could commit to, and just perform more with more conducive productive results at then I realized, hey, if I get my license, which I've had before, but it's been expired for a long time, so I have to go through the whole process of doing it again, which is very lengthy in my province and makes it very hard to find the motivation to do so. If I'm in a car and I'm doing something like DoorDash or whatever, I wouldn't do Uber. I just don't want to drive drunk people around. I don't mind fucking delivering food to drunk people, but I don't want to drive drunk people around. And I'm not saying that's what I want to do for a career, but just for a job. Because if I'm in a car, an insulated environment with a steady temperature, I don't have to worry about, a flux in my symptoms of pain and discomfort. Just, all the other stuff sort of linked into that. So as soon as I'm done my university term, I am going to be looking for something a little more career oriented, because university electives are like they're honestly not going to take you very far. If I was to spend 2.5 years getting an associate's degree in psychology, no one's going to hire me with an associate's degree. No one's going to want to hire me with an associate's degree. If you have a master's, I don't know if master's is something you get in psychology, so apologize for my ignorance there, but if you have a PhD or whatever, then maybe you have some hope of, a practice. But then, of course, you have to put all the money into getting licensed and to, getting, leasing space for a practice and getting clients and everything. And also psychology is still considered kind of not a pseudoscience, but it's not regarded as like a legitimate form of medical treatment. It's which is unfortunate. Like, it's part of why psychologists, they can't prescribe drugs, which is, kind of a good thing in that, you're not supposed to necessarily with psychology, and, if psychedelics were legal and psychologists, I think then they would be able to do a great deal by prescribing drugs. Like, as I've stated before, LSD psychotherapy has been some of the, most, actually impactful therapeutic experiences I've had. Where, ordinarily talk therapy would do nothing for me. Guided hypnosis, stuff like that. I felt immune to it. Just, I wouldn't be able to get into it. It wouldn't do anything for me. But, if he did guided hypnosis on a regular day, where I hadn't taken anything, I'd, close my eyes and then just, as things get quieter and quieter and I'm trying to focus, my pain starts rising and hey, we're here, and there's less stimuli, so we're gonna do a little dance up and down your fucking nerves and tip tap, jib jab, poke, poke, just. It would enhance the pain, if anything, which is why, I stopped transcendental meditation, which was very helpful, because once I started experiencing pain, getting into that silent, serene state caused the pain to just get louder. But when I did the guided meditation, or guided hypnosis, which is very similar to, guided meditation, I found, just with the type that my psychologist used, it'd be like I'd close my eyes, and then it was like I opened them 15 minutes later, and I was like, did we even do it? And he'd be like, yeah, you were, completely, immersed for, the last minutes. What, really? No fucking way. And then I would leave, and I would feel so much lighter than when I went in. I felt like I was unburdened, legitimately unburdened. And then I would start thinking, oh, this is when he did the guided meditation, I went down into this kind of office I created in my mind, and the very vivid imagery would process archetypes that were persistent and destructive in my life, and so it was much more effective for me. Anyways, I'm not saying, again, this is something everyone should do, because it's not. Psychedelics they're just not gonna have benefits for everyone. In fact, they may have the opposite for some of you, but I went into that at great length in my last video, so I won't go into that too much here. But, until, there is this massive paradigm shift where the public really sees that, doctors are not people you should just trust off the bat, because their motivations can very well be just to make money off of getting you on prescriptions. There are so many fucking hospitals I've seen that are pill farms. I'm not. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't me being a conspiracy theorist. Legitimately, I'm talking, not letting people leave unless they pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a certain shot. And that's unfortunate. It's also very daunting, because if it's a profit-driven market, then if psychedelics do get legitimized in the eyes of the public and medical community, and psychologists are able to prescribe it and guide people, after being duly educated on how to do so, those start tomorrow. there would be immense pushback from doctors who are, making fucking a good living off of this stuff, which is sad. So it's a sad state, and that's just, this is why I've kind of learned to really, really stop relying on the medical community, because they have done more harm than good, I think. Anyways, all the remedies I take that help me, things I found on my own, things I came up with on my own. The only thing I've been prescribed that I would consider taking after I get off all the other crap is dexedrine, but that was also something I was offered on and off over the years, because I was put on Ritalin as a kid, but I hated it. I hated it as a kid. I actually fucking would pretend to take the pills, and I'd fucking throw them behind our computer desk. So I kept going back to, I just don't want to be on this stuff. But then I was like, I heard, I believe it was Rob Gaffigan, he's famous YouTuber, does a lot of true crime stuff. He kind of dropped out of the YouTube limelight for a while, and I was like, what the fuck happened to Rob? And turned out he, had some very bad depression, and they treated him with Adderall and therapy, and the Adderall was, he said, very helpful. So I thought, maybe this will help, not just with my ADD, but with my depression. And it does help to combat not so much the doldrums, but just the real inability to muster up energy, motivation. It feels a lot more forced than, say, like a microdose. Like dexedrine, it's very much an amphetamine. It's very much an upper. I have ADD bad enough to the point where uppers have the antagonistic effect on me. Like, I can do like 3-4 rips of like pure fucking cocaine, like the highly expensive high heat fish scale shit. Now, I haven't done cocaine in a long time, no plan to do any anytime soon, but I'm just saying, for example's sake, that it would never fucking make me amped up. It did back when I was a teenager, but that's probably because I was doing shitty coke that probably had a little bit of speed in it. Otherwise, it had more of a sedating effect on me, and Ritalin is very similar to cocaine in terms of its the structure of its compound, of the compound itself, methylphenidate. But dexedrine, I can see why some people would go crazy after taking it. If they have a predisposition towards mental illness, because it is an amphetamine, it is, unless you have that fully antagonistic sedative response, it is going to amp you up. And it will make you feel a little fucking jittery and sort of to contain your energy a little bit. I don't get that so much, but I did get it when I first started taking it. Or if I take a long break, like I stop for a week and then I go back to taking like my normal dose, which, I wouldn't advise. I'd say maybe take half and then work your way up. Responsible use, name of the game. But anyways, microdosing, so far so good. I'm digging it. I found last few times I did it, I had much less of a desire to specifically smoke pot. But I mean, I feel it's like so mild that it wouldn't bother me at all. Like, particularly when I was microdosing the LSD, because I was still doing pretty high doses, trying to figure out what was the right dose. Like, smoking pot would make me start tripping out a little bit. But in any case, I'm gonna put this focus to the test in the next video, which will be my paper on anxiety, stress, central nervous system, immune system, cognition, gut health, how all these things kind of are relevant to each other. And I think I make a pretty good case for it. So, you may find that interesting, you may not, but I think it will illuminate if you have chronic pain, depression, or don't. It will illuminate why you might feel certain ways and responses to, like a stressful day, stressful encounters, so on and so forth. So on that note, I will fucking chat you later. Cheerio.